Hello there, everybody. This is Mel Allen. Talk about Skylabs falling. Just look what's coming down at the ballparks. The Dodgers plunge straight down to the cellar. The Phillies struggle to keep down their pitches. The Red Sox aim to shoot down the Orioles. The Astros try to hold down the Reds. The Expos work to fight off a letdown. And the Cubs refuse to lie down and die. Headlines and highlights as Major League action counts down to the All-Star break. Next on This Week in Baseball. Brought to you by Gillette. When it comes to personal grooming, most people come to Gillette, makers of Atra Razor, America's original pivoting head razor.
He was a before, now he's an Atra. He was a before, now he's an Atra. Now he's an Atra.
Gillette Atra, the pivoting head razor 8 out of 10 triers preferred to anything they'd ever used before. Superior face-hugging action with new micro-smooth twin blades make Atra Gillette's best shave. So,
don't be a before, move up to Atra.
After all these years, I still like working out. But what I really like is the beer that's waiting for me when it's over. And if you work out the way we do, there better be a lot of beer waiting. That's why we drink light beer from Miller. Light has 1/3 less calories than regular beer, and it's less filling, and it tastes great. Take it from a guy who works out a lot. Could really use one right now.
Here you go, Bruce.
Light beer from Miller. Everything you always wanted in a beer, and less.
For 3 months, the Baltimore Orioles were simply unstoppable in the American League East until they headed west to Texas, where the wind suddenly stopped blowing their way and blew the way of the Texas Rangers, riding hard near the top of the American League West. Baseball gravity. Eventually, the hits had to stop falling for Baltimore. But for Texas journeyman Oscar Gamble, they continued to fall at a rate close to 400, with an RBI every 4 at-bats. Also rounding up runs, Buddy Bell, who's made his hits count with 47 RBIs despite only a handful of home runs. And veteran John Ellis, whom his manager calls one of the best offensive weapons in the league, is blooming late in his career, consistently bringing home key runs. 13 Ranger wins in 15 games, 3 straight over Baltimore, thanks in part to pitching from the likes of Ferguson Jenkins, one of 2 Rangers to shut out the Orioles, the 46th shutout of Fergie's career. And Texas folks are very much obliged to Jim Kern, who keeps shooting sure and fast in the late innings. A 10-2 record with 15 saves, a part in 1/2 of the Ranger victories. The sweep put Baltimore on a 5-game skid, compressing the standings in the East, but the Birds still remain the team to catch. And aiming to do just that, the Boston Red Sox, who have talked themselves into forgetting 1978 while looking for a much better second half in '79.
In the game of baseball, it doesn't make a difference what you did last year or yesterday. The Yankees played well the last half of last year. We didn't play so well. We've forgotten about that. We're playing good baseball at this time and this year, except the Baltimore Orioles are playing a little bit better. They have a great pitching staff, so it looks like it's going to be a good race.
And the Red Sox have helped make it a good race by bearing down during the Orioles slump and making all the plays. One reason for the Boston surge is the addition of first baseman Bob Watson, who quickly won the admiration of all of the Red Sox.
We acquired Bob Watson a couple of weeks ago. The man's a .299 lifetime hitter, and he's already been a great asset to our ball club, and not only a great player, but he's a great man.
In his first 3 weeks with Boston, Reverend Watson hit well over 300 with 6 homers and 15 RBIs. Numbers adding fire and brimstone to the Fenway faithful, who were quick to embrace a new hero.
Since I've been here, the fans have treated me fantastic. The fellows on the club have received me well, and I guess the best thing of all, I've made a contribution. I got a couple of key base hits for them.
Also born again in Boston, Steve Renko, 7 wins in his first 10 decisions. And pitching coach Al Jackson isn't surprised.
Steve Renko has done a marvelous job. The way he's pitched, he should maybe be 8 or 9 wins at this particular time. So I say with this man's going to help us too. I think he's going to get even better in the second half.
But Dwight Evans is just one reminder that the Sox still live by the power of the bat. Here, a game-winning homer in the bottom of the ninth. 11 homers for Evans, who, despite his good season, must feel a little lonely in the Boston outfield. 3 other Red Sox outfielders were elected to start in this year's All-Star game. And now, a look at the American League starting lineup. Carl Yastrzemski, the league's senior representative, scheduled to be an All-Star for the 16th time. At age 39, Yaz, hitting .300 with 16 homers, 56 RBIs, is striving to become the first American leaguer to total both 400 homers and 3,000 hits. Teammate Jim Rice adds more power to the American League outfield. 21 homers, 65 runs batted in, an average around .320. Also, the second top vote getter, well over 3 million. Rounding out the outfield, center fielder Fred Lynn, who received over 3 million votes. Lynn's power has been something of a surprise this season, a league-leading 24 home runs, 73 RBIs. So Boston fields 3 All-Star starters. So do the Kansas City Royals. George Brett leading the way at third base with 3 million votes. After a slow start, Brett came on strong to raise his average to near .330. Royals catcher Darrell Porter will make his first All-Star start thanks to a sound year behind the plate. And at the plate, Porter is easily having his best season, hitting above .300, around 60 RBIs. Also selected to start for the first time, Frank White, the quick Kansas City second baseman who continues to improve as an offensive player. At shortstop, Minnesota's Roy Smalley will make his first All-Star appearance, leading the majors in hitting around .360 with 15 homers and some 70 RBIs. Besides his awesome offensive stats, Smalley is one of the best at fielding his position. finally, California first baseman Rod Carew becomes an All-Star for the 13th time. Top vote getter for the third year in a row, close to 4 million votes, was hitting .355 when injured. Will have to miss this year's Classic. Now, time for this week's Volkswagen quiz. The 50th Major League All-Star Game will be played at Seattle's Kingdome, the 32nd stadium to host the Midsummer Classic. Can you name the ballpark where the first All-Star Game was played? Stay tuned. Volkswagen will ask you again.
That Volkswagen Rabbit really handles. Is that why you're driving it?
Not really.
Well, is it because it can go from 0 to 50 in 8.3 seconds? But then why are you driving a Rabbit?
Because it has more headroom than my Rolls Royce.
Is that such a big deal?
It is. If you will, Chamberlain.
Volkswagen does it again.
Nearing the All-Star break, manager Tom Lasorda moved out to the coaching box, trying anything to wake up his Los Angeles Dodgers, who drifted 18 and a half games out in the National League West. When a defending champ hits the cellar, it's no ordinary year. In Canada, it's been an expo-ordinary year for the suddenly grown-up Montreal Expos, who've kept Eastern Division rivals from creeping too close to their amazing first-place position, especially when battling head-to-head. The Eastern Division might also consider that sluggers like Ellis Valentine have yet to reach their peak. So far, the power provided by Valentine and friends has been just enough to keep the Expos winning. None of the Expos was elected to this year's All-Star squad, but Gary Carter would add strength to any dream roster. Carter's hit around .290 with 13 homers and would have no trouble winning popularity polls in Montreal. Nor would Tony Perez, the dependable clutch operator of the Expo Express, hitting close to .300. Of the 8 regulars, only Perez has played on a pennant winner, and he'll have Montreal believe he's doing it again. Ace Steve Rogers has been named to the All-Star pitching staff. With 9 wins and 5 shutouts, no surprise. As a team, these Expos were quite a surprise in the first half, but in the second half, the surprise would be if they don't win. Ditto for the Houston Astros. Like Montreal, a former expansion team that opened up an impressive lead in the Western Division. At one point, 10 games over their nearest rival, the Cincinnati Reds. Catcher Alan Ashby came aboard the Astros ship to keep runners honest. And Craig Reynolds neatly filled an important hole at shortstop. Otherwise, pitching and quickness have made the difference. Like Montreal, no regulars were elected to the All-Stars, but pitchers Joaquin Andujar with a 10-5 record, Joe Niekro, a 13-game winner, and reliever Joe Sambito were all selected to the All-Star staff. As Sambito was increasing his string of consecutive innings without an earned run to 36 in the third, the Astros won 15 of 18 until they visited sun-drenched Wrigley Field, where that winning spell was suddenly eclipsed by Cub power. That's power not only from Dave Kingman, who's provided more than his share from left field, but also power from right field, as Mike Bale went 3 for 3 with 4 RBIs and one end of a doubleheader sweep. And Scott Thompson, who went 5 for 5 in the other end. 8 for 8 by Cub right fielders as Chicago scored 14 runs in that twin bill sweep, followed by a 10-0 victory the next day. The Cubs are another team not stocked with all-stars, which may be one reason to watch out for them in the second half as they try to challenge Montreal. After all, this is no ordinary year. Now, a look at the National League's all-star lineup. The Dodgers' Steve Garvey beat out Pete Rose at first base. Garvey brings a .500 all-star batting average and 2 MVP awards into his 6th straight start. Teammate Davey Lopes will make his first all-star start as the league's second baseman. His 19 homers are already more than he's ever hit in a season. At shortstop, Philadelphia's Larry Boa edged out Davey Concepcion, will make his 5th all-star appearance. Though Boa is not having his best year at the plate, he'll give the senior circuit that added quickness. Boa will be flanked at third base by teammate Mike Schmidt, the league's top vote getter, who, believe it or not, has never started in an all-star game. A recent power burst moved Schmidt ahead of Dave Kingman for the Major League lead in homers with 30. Cardinal slugger Ted Simmons is the logical choice behind the plate, thanks to a .321 average, 18 homers, 52 RBIs. Injury prevents him from playing. A real shame, because for the first time, he was the fans' choice. George Foster makes his 4th straight all-star start. The Cincinnati outfielder has already compiled a .333 average with 19 homers and 68 RBIs. Another outfield spot goes to Pittsburgh's Dave Parker. Parker has yet to crack any league-leading categories, but he's still hitting around .300 with 15 homers and 52 RBIs. Of course, he's big enough to shake up a whole team of all-stars. So is San Diego's Dave Winfield, top vote getter for the National League outfielders. He makes his first start, and with some heavy numbers, 19 homers, a near .320 average, and 66 RBIs. Now, back to this week's Volkswagen quiz, brought to you by the '79 Rabbit, Dasher, and Scirocco. Volkswagen does it again. In 1933, the first Major League All-Star game was played in Chicago's Comiskey Park. Babe Ruth homered, helping to beat the National League 4-2, igniting an era of American League dominance. Lately, though, it's been all National League, with 15 wins in the last 16 games. Next week, Volkswagen will ask you again.
He wasn't before, Now he's an Atra. He wasn't before. Now he's an Atra. Now he's an Atra.
Gillette Atra, the pivoting head razor 8 out of 10 triers preferred to anything they'd ever used before. Superior face-hugging action with new micro-smooth twin blades make Atra Gillette's best shave. So,
don't be a before, move up to Atra.
How do you spell relief?
When I get acid indigestion, I spell relief R-O-L-A-I-D-S.
Rolaids spells relief. Clinical tests prove with Rolaids you get relief Tums can't beat. That's right, relief Tums can't beat. In fact, relief no other leading antacid can beat. How do you spell relief?
For heartburn, I know. R-O-L-A-I-D-S.
Relief no other leading antacid can beat.
What's this? Our ballpark's being invaded by alien beings? Maybe they're the ones mysteriously abducting Philly pitchers. Larry Christensen was one of 3 arms put on the disabled list in 24 hours. After coming back from one injury, you'd think he'd get some sympathy. Well, no sympathy, but at least he got him out. Philadelphia's pitching woes got so bad that reliever Tug McGraw had to start. And some wondered, start what? Call that a setup pitch? The hitter says, hey, man, can't you bring it down a little? Sure he can. But hey, Tug, maybe you better think about it for a while, huh? Okay. Here we go. Crafty pitching. It'll teach him not to get picky. But pitchers like Oriole ace Jim Palmer believe it's their prerogative to be just as picky as they please. He's 1 out away from a victory, but don't rush him. Doesn't care for that one. He'll take another. No, that's no good either. Too smooth. Too rough. Well, now, even an umpire only has so many. Now, this one seems to be more to Mr. Palmer's taste. Oh, no. Talk about being finicky. By now, the hitter's waited so long, he'll swing at anything, and does, for the final out. Guess it just takes years of experience to know how to pitch or how not to, right, Jim? Actually, pitchers were not only stingy with the ball this week, but also with the hits. 5 one-hit games. KG Louis Tiant of the Yankees spun a one-hitter against Oakland, and this soccer-like assist helped. Meanwhile, the Rangers' Fergie Jenkins one-hit the Orioles. Oakland's Rick Langford one-hit California. In Texas, the Rangers' Doc Medich combined with ace reliever Jim Kern to earn another one-hitter. And finally, Philadelphia's Steve Carlton one-hit the Mets, the 5th of his career, tying a National League record. All told, 5 one-hitters in 6 days. How about that? Not only was it a banner week for pitchers, certain sluggers also asserted themselves. Reggie Jackson, back in his old hometown of Oakland, continued a torrid week, helping the Yankees pick up 4 games on Baltimore. During that spell, Reggie hit .379 with 5 homers and 13 RBIs, including 3 game winners. Meanwhile, Ben Ogilvy helped keep the Brewers alive in the same race by crashing 3 home runs in 1 game against the Tigers, lifting his season's total to 18. The Philadelphia Phillies' Mike Schmidt also caught home run fever, and how? Against the Giants, Schmidt hit 3 homers in 1 game, plus 1 the day before, making him the only player ever to hit 4 home runs in 4 consecutive trips to the plate twice. Schmidt went on to total 7 homers in 5 games to take over the Major League lead in round triples. But this week's Gillette Special goes west to California, where the Angels were boosted by the exploding bat of Don Baylor. On June 28th, Baylor celebrated his 30th birthday with his first of 9 homers in 9 games, driving in 19 runs. Baylor lifted his home run total to 21 and Major League leading RBIs to an out-of-sight 80. Congratulations, Don, and a belated happy birthday. That's all for now, folks. See you next week on This Week in Baseball.
Here's a reminder, it's English leather or nothing at all.
English leather cologne for men.